Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So a visitor in New York City once stopped someone on the street and said, "Excuse me, can you tell me how to get to Carnegie Hall?" And the answer was, come on, you know this?
Practice.
All right. I knew that you knew it. Yes, I tried this joke on my daughters this morning and they just looked at me. They didn't get it. But I just knew this group would get this. So this month we are exploring the powerful, very powerful teachings of the science of mind. When we practice, we know that they will lead us to a life rich in meaning, love, peace, joy, and harmony. More than 2,500 years ago, one of the holiest of the holy, the one who was awake, as we discussed last week, the Buddha, said, "However many holy words you read, however many you speak, what good will they do you if you do not act upon them?"
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, he got it, didn't he? Not long ago. And that action, that practice involves both an art and a science. Art, meaning the fluid flowing, creative feeling, passion, energy, and aliveness. And science, the method, formula, repeatable, reliable, and systematic. Right? Art and science. So during the month of September, we are exploring how to practice both of these aspects of our Science of Mind teachings in the context of a current challenge or issue that you might be having right now. We talked about this last Sunday. I invited you to be aware of a current issue or a challenge in your life or in the world that has caused you perhaps a little pain. I asked you to become aware of it and then to be awake to higher truths about it. And I know that we all did some very powerful work around it. And today we're going to apply the art and science of conscious creation to that challenge by looking at how you can create your day, even in, or I should say especially in, the face of whatever may be going on for you. So there are 6 letters in the word create, and we're going to use each one of them as a reminder for us of the 6 everyday practices by which we can bring art and science into our spiritual living. These are everyday practices by which you will remove blocks, live in the flow, deepen into higher truths that we explored last week, understand your intrinsic worth and value, and move into fulfillment. And the 6 practices are, well, we're going to unveil them as we go. So number 1 is C, calm the mind. When a student once asked Ramana Maharishi, a great Hindu sage, "What stands in the way of my knowing myself or God?" And he shot back, "Your wandering mind." It's quite normal that your mind wanders unless it's been trained to keep its attention on any one thing for an extended period of time. You train it by persisting and continuing to bring it back to whatever it is that you are focused on. And you do this, and as you do this, your mind will sharpen, and it will keep from wandering and will be a much calmer mind. Focusing our mind is just like any other skill. The more we practice, the better we get. And there was a book that we studied in our ministerial teachings called Mastery. And it was written by a man who was a tennis pro. And so it was kind of interesting how he was talking about this. What he said was that people who came to him for lessons, they would improve for about a month. Each day they got a little better, they got a little better, and then they would plateau. And many of them would say, well, that's about as good as I'm going to get, and they would stop. They wouldn't even play anymore. He says, but the ones who continue to practice, and would continue to play, even though they didn't see any improvement while they were on that plateau, their cells were learning and creating new memories. And after a while, they started to bump up again. So if you have that moment in your life where, man, I'm doing my affirmations and visualizations, but at first, and many of us know this, when we come into this teaching, we start using these tools and we see immediate results. Oh my gosh, we're manifesting left and right. And then we hit a plateau. We go, does this really work? I don't know. But if we keep practicing, then we see the results again. And it happens like that. And our cells remember. So practice, practice, practice. Ernest Holmes writes in The Science of Mind, we should read, study, think, and meditate upon those statements that tend to calm, to give poise and confidence, and erase all thought of fear and tension. We should think of ourselves as being surrounded by perfect life and poised in eternal calm. We are in a sea of untroubled waters of life from which we may freely drink. And the Buddha said, may you develop mental concentration, for whosoever is mentally concentrated sees these things according to reality. And this art of calming the mind, of course, is what we call meditation. And that's what it's all about. That's what meditation is all about, focusing on one thing and then returning to it again and again. And it trains the mind to be still and to be calm. And this stillness and this calmness of the mind doesn't just occur when you are meditating, but it moves into your everyday life, and it remains even in the midst of a challenge the more we practice. In his wonderful book, it's called Meditation by Eknath Easwaran, we used that in one of our classes too, he suggested that we select a sacred, holy passage, something that is meaningful to you, and that we commit it to memory, and that we repeat it over and over and over again during our meditation time. But there's a catch, and that's where the training begins, when our mind wanders, and it surely will. You have to go back to the beginning of the passage that you memorized. So you have to go back to the very beginning. So here's a passage that I've used, and I've used many of them, and it's from The Science of Mind. And this is, Ernest Holmes writes, perfect God within me, perfect life within me, which is God. Come forth into expression through me as that which I am. Lead me ever into the paths of perfection and cause me to see only the good. Wow. Cause me to see only the good. Of course, if I would get partway through there and my mind would go, did I remember to buy milk? I'll go back to the beginning, start all over again. So I've had meditations when many meditations when I never got through the entire thing. But every time I returned to the beginning, I was building that muscle in my mind. And as I built that muscle, I got stronger and stronger and more able to remain calm and focused in the midst of the chaos around me. So what passage would be meaningful for you? What passage would work for you? The Vietnamese monk Thich Nhat Hanh suggests that this meditation, as you breathe in and out, this is one, it's called breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in the present moment, I know that this is a wonderful moment. So let's do that. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in the present moment, I know this is a wonderful moment. So let's all say this. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in this present moment, I know this is a wonderful moment. So how does that feel? Does that feel pretty good? It's wonderful. I personally love this one to do if and when I get the outer experiences that really get to my core, something that just happens and I tend to react. Because it really brings me back to my center, to that place of calmness. So begin your day with a meditation that not only calms your heart and soul, but also trains your mind to focus and then engage in the art and science of calming techniques as needed in your day. So that takes us to R. Remembering who you are. The key to Jesus' power was that he constantly called to remembrance of who he was. Rather than seeing his limitations, he saw himself as one with God. In his remembering, he said, glorify thou me with the glory which I had with thee before the world was. And he was obviously remembering who he was when he said, before Abraham was, I am. These are poetic ways of saying that at the core of our beginningness is the infinite and eternal presence. In the Living the Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes wrote, "We are compelled to think of spirit either as apart from us or within us. If apart from us, there is no way to find it. If within us, there is no escaping the divine fact. Unfoldment and not searching is what we need." So there's a story about a jeweler who had been working on repairing an earring when he lost it. He began frantically searching for it, and he looked everywhere, twice, 3 times, to no avail. Feeling distraught, he went to the bathroom to splash some water on his face, and when he looked at himself in the mirror, he started to laugh hysterically. Why? Because he'd attached the earring to his earlobe. He'd replaced the clip, and he put it there to see if it would hold. So our divinity is already there. It's already within us. Unfoldment and not searching is what we need. Because if you're searching out there, you're not going to find it. If you have a hard time remembering who you are, if you have issues of worthiness and self-confidence, which I know some people do, here's an idea. Every morning for 10 minutes, read from Ernest Holmes' This Thing Called You, or Discover a Richer Life. We discovered that one in our last class, which is very similar to This Thing Called You. But read it from the first person. Read it from the first person. As an example, listen to this. This is from This Thing Called You. "There is a pattern of my being, or a real spirit of me, which is as eternal as God, as indestructible as reality, and as changeless as truth. This pattern is seeking to manifest through me. Back of it is all the will and purpose of the universe, all the irresistible laws of being. Finally, it will win. It is because it is there and I have the longing to live more fully, the feeling that life belongs to me. There is something within me beyond all fear, all doubt and fear, something which has never been limited by my acts or destroyed by my feelings. This is the only something that can make me whole." When we start our day with something like that, it will definitely help us to remember who we are. So on to E, entering into a partnership with God by creating a mental equivalent. Who's familiar with mental equivalents? Okay. We'll get into what a mental equivalent is. This practice really this is where the science meets the belief here. It's the science of our work. In the chapter entitled Mental Equivalent, it's a whole chapter in the Science of Mind textbook, Holmes writes, "The law is infinite and perfect, but in order to make a demonstration, we must have a mental equivalent of the thing we desire." This is where visualization comes in. We must have a clear picture in our mind of what it is we wish to demonstrate. A demonstration, like anything else in the objective life, is born out of a mental concept. The mind is the fashioning factor, and according to its range, vision, and positiveness, there will be the circumstances of the experience. Consciousness must be conscious of something. Consciousness must be conscious of something. And you get to decide what that something is. That's a lot of power. We have a lot of power there. You enter into a partnership with God, so to speak, when you do your work by creating your mental equivalent, which is actually a term that was coined by Thomas Troward back in the 1800s, and then you let God do the rest. We do our part, and then God does the rest. And here's the tangible demonstration of how it works. So there were 2 insurance salesmen, I love my stories, and they decided to set their goals for the next year. They wrote them down on separate pieces of paper, and they sealed them in envelopes and tucked them away for a year. At the end of the year, they opened the back up to compare how they had actually done. The first man who opened his envelope, he leapt with joy, and he says, I made my goal. He'd written down $50,000. The second man opened his, and he smiled quietly to himself, and he said, well, I only made half of mine, but I'm happy too. As he looked down at his sheet of paper, saying $500,000. So on to number 4. Oh, I didn't get the whole part. Number 4.
Oh, right.
Affirming the truth. Affirmations. Keep yourself on track with your mental equivalent of your day by using powerful statements of truth, otherwise known as affirmations. Statements such as, "There is one infinite intelligence which governs, guides, and guards me," or "Everything necessary to the full and complete expression of joy is now mine." "I now allow myself to receive all the good I have withheld from myself in the past." How is that one? Wow. That was from Edwin Gaines. I think that one is just great. Wow, think of all the good we denied ourselves in the past, from just thinking that maybe have been in error. How about, "I am dynamic, vibrant, radiant, and healthy. I have plenty to spend, to spare, and to share. There is one life. This life is God. This life is perfect. This life is my life right now." These are just a few of the affirmations that I keep in my toolbox. Also, when I'm driving, God drives my car and all other cars. And I see my car surrounded by, white protective light. So does anyone have any favorites that they use every day to stay on track?
Brought up earlier, I am grateful for everything. I have no complaints whatsoever.
That's a great one. We did that one in our book study. That was great. I'm grateful for everything. I have no complaints whatsoever.
I am happy, healthy, and whole.
I am happy, healthy, and whole.
Oh, that's...
Suzanne, you do one.
Oh, I do tons of them.
I know.
Yeah,
Every day.
right now they're all flipping
Oh,
through.
they're great.
I have on my desk, on my computer.
I wrote one by the door when I'm leaving. I always say, there's nothing that I can do or no goal that I can achieve.
Beautiful. What a great
yeah.
affirmation to have in your mind when you're leaving the house right then, because it keeps you on track
Or how does it get any better than this in any moment?
in any moment.
Good, the bad, and the ugly.
But it's amazing. We've used that one a lot.
Oh, mine is on my... Well, she says I make picky little complaints because I'm a picky little person. So,
Cancel.
Yeah. I clean my kitchen windows with a Q-tip. Anyway, no complaints today. There are no complaints today. That's on my computer.
There you
no
go.
picky little complaints.
No picky little complaints. And so it is.
It's always working out for perfectionist.
Oh, gosh. Okay. So we can use these words whenever we have a time when we are set back or when we feel challenged, because we can immediately just turn to those. And again, when we practice bringing our minds back to those, we just do it out of habit. And it's just an amazing way to help create your day. So far today we have created our day by calming our minds, remembering who we are, entering into a partnership with God, and affirming the truth. And that brings us to number 5. Touch in with your feelings. In Living the Science of Mind, Holmes writes, "Here's an interesting thought to speculate on. If feelings and emotions acting through the avenue of consciousness can produce havoc in our lives, what would happen if the same feelings and emotions were constructively employed? What would happen if we could convert the energy of fear to faith, the energy of doubt and uncertainty, into a feeling of belonging to the universe and being safe in it? Would not the original artist itself go forth into new creation through us?" Because that's the only way that God can create, is through us. I love in Esther and Jerry Hicks' book, Ask and It Is Given, they give a scale of emotions and they suggest that at the bottom of the scale, we are disconnected from our alignment with our true nature, and therefore not creating a life of peace, fulfillment, happiness for ourselves and others. And at the top of the scale, we are. These are all the vibration frequencies, right? There are 22 levels on that scale, and they range from fear, grief, depression, despair, powerlessness at the bottom, to overwhelmment in the middle, to joy, knowledge, empowerment, freedom, love, and appreciation at the top. And they suggest that it may be challenging for us as humans to make a leap of several levels on the scale, going from the very bottom to the very top. But they encourage us, and they say that we can always go up 1 or 2, and it makes, even just going up one scale, makes tremendous difference, gives us tremendous power in our lives. They write, "The thing that matters most is that you consciously reach for a feeling that is improved." So don't beat yourself up if you're not, wow, I'm feeling fearful right now, or I'm feeling depressed and I want to be at joy. How about just moving up, just improving a little bit?
And
Anger is an improvement over depression.
There you go.
just to show that you have the power to do that. Just knowing
Oh.
that, you just ratchet up.
Right. The fact that you
hold the ratchet.
exactly that
Yeah.
we do have power over our feelings there and how we're feeling. So I'm going to suggest during the course of your day that you touch in with your feelings. How am I feeling right now? Realizing just how important they are in creating your day.
And nobody else can make us feel the way we do.
No.
So often we blame others because they did this or treated us that, and I have to remind myself, okay, wait, nobody gets inside my head and tells me how to feel or think, so I have to bring it back
We
to,
do it to ourselves.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's so true. So true. Very good. And that takes us to our final letter, the letter that puts it all together. Expect the best. My husband used to have a license plate
Oh,
holder that said expect the best, and also miracles happen.
yeah.
He traded it in for an A's license plate holder. What that was
And
about.
I'm expecting the best.
And now he just expects a miracle, right?
Well, now he embodies expected best.
Yeah. So our charge is to expect the best in all things. Expect the best with persistence and determination. There is a pony in here somewhere. I just know it, right? So little Johnny watched, fascinated, as his mother smoothed cold cream on her face. "Why do you do that, Mommy?" he asked. "To make myself beautiful," said his mother, who began then removing the cream with a tissue. "What's the matter?" asked little Johnny. "Giving up?"
Oh,
Never give up on expecting the best.
wow.
My favorite passage from The Science of Mind appears on, it's actually on page 282. And Holmes writes, "Stay with the one and never deviate from it. Never leave it for a moment. Nothing else can equal this attitude. And this is in capitals. To desert the truth in the hour of need is to prove that we do not know the truth. When things look the worst, that is the supreme moment to demonstrate to ourselves that there are no obstructions to the operation of truth. When things look the worst is the best time to work, the most satisfying time. The person who can throw himself with a complete abandon into that limitless sea of receptivity, having cut loose from all apparent moorings, is the one who will always receive the greatest reward." He also writes, "Never let anything cause you to doubt your ability to demonstrate the truth. Conceive of your word as being the thing. See the desire as an already accomplished fact, and rest in perfect confidence, peace, and certainty, never looking for results, never wondering, never becoming anxious, never being hurried or worried. Those who do not understand this attitude may think you are inactive, but remember, to him who can perfectly practice in action, all things are possible." Wow. That's where that patience part comes in. Persistently and determinedly expect the best. Do these 6 activities through your day. They are mental activities. You can train yourself to do them. They can become your habitudes. Practice, practice, practice. The art of science and spiritual living by calming the mind, remembering who you are, entering into a partnership with God, affirming, touching in with your feelings, and expecting the best. Do these every day and you will remove the blocks, live in the flow, deepen into higher truths, recognize the truth of who you are, move to fulfillment, and live the art and the science of spirituality every day. And so it is.